embarrassing.
I can't believe you still remember that.
I was like, what is wrong with you? But anyway, with that, let's jump right into the discussion. So tell me this. Before we really jump into, young people in college life, when you hear dismissive responses regarding the pandemic, regarding the severity of COVID-19, how do you respond? What is your initial response? Because you hear so many dismissive comments. I hear people say that, oh, it's not really that many deaths when you take out the pre-existing conditions. But had there been COVID, then the people who were managing their pre-existing condition, they'd still potentially be alive. So how do you handle that? How do you respond to that?
So, I used to get really angry when the pandemic first started, when I heard comments like that, because, I was in the thick of it. I'm in the hospital. I'm having to wear PPE, looking like an astronaut. I've had one mother die from COVID, whose baby survived. So, I'm in the hospital every day where I pass a COVID floor. Well, people are not surviving, where people are being brought in on respirators and not surviving. I have colleagues who were in New York when the pandemic first hit really hard, who were, in the ER seeing these, bodies being carried out and loaded into trucks because the morgues were full. So this is not a joke. So initially, when I first heard it, I would get really angry because I felt like, people need to understand this is real. But as we've gone through the pandemic, I can understand why some people are having a hard time believing it's real because they haven't been affected.
That's right. That part.
They don't see people with symptoms. It's not like the flu or something else if they saw somebody sick. So I think now when I hear people say things like that, I just say a prayer, send some grace that way, and I hope that they don't have to know someone directly because I'm caring for people directly every day. The second thing I would say, in fairness to people about the pandemic, is what we know now, we did not know in February. What we know now, we didn't know in April. What we know now, we didn't even know in June. Right. So, we're learning stuff every day. We now know that you can be affected even if you don't have a pre-existing condition. We now know that pregnancy was added as a pre-existing condition. Wow. We now know that children have a whole new disease process that has presented with COVID that we didn't know about before, starting with skin lesions and a special skin rash and other organs being involved, not necessarily a cold or even a fever. Wow. I myself had a COVID exposure and was sick. My testing was negative, but my chest X-ray was positive. So we now know that the strain is changing. We now know that the time that you do the test can affect that. And we now know that we thought you couldn't be reinfected, but supposedly now they have the first reinfection. So, so I understand the misinformation. And of course, from the top, I don't want to get political. We have conflicting information coming from administration. We have conflicting information coming from the CDC. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Crowds of 10 or more, not crowds of 10 or more. So I understand why people are confused. But let me tell you guys, it's not a joke. Every day I go into the hospital hoping that I will not have to say bye to a family member. And every day I leave the hospital hoping that I don't expose my family to anybody that I've had to take care of, even though I'm wearing PPE. So it's real, but I do understand when you have conflicting information, it's hard. When the symptoms change, monthly, it's hard. And those of us who are pediatricians, we're very concerned because we're realizing we just didn't know enough about kids in the beginning. Right. So pre-existing conditions have been added from the beginning. So I used to get really angry, but now I understand, people, if you haven't been affected, if you've been in your bubble and you think it's overkill, then I understand why some people might feel that way.
Yeah.
I wish it was overkill.
I wish. Yes, I agree.
I'm concerned, but
I agree.